if you're used to listening to the news with regard to hurricane activity, you're probably used to hearing these Category 1, Category 2, Category 3. I don't know about Category 4 or Category 5 hurricane, but Category 1 is the most tame hurricane, and Category 5 is the most crazy, intense hurricane. This is according to the Saffir-Simpson scale. Now, how they categorize them, probably most basically, and I have a slide coming up to saying how they get these wind speeds, but is to check the most intense wind speeds, and of course those would be in the eye wall. So the wind speeds actually kind of give it away as to what the category of the what the category of the hurricane is. Going kind of lockstep with the wind speed is the central low pressure. Because remember I said that the hurricanes have at the surface a low, and at upper elevations they have actually a high pressure over the low, which makes them kind of conflicted, I think. So central low pressures, if you have to have at least 980 millibars, needs to at least be your low pressure or lower than that for it to actually sustain a Category 1 winds of 119 to 153, that's kilometers per hour. Of course, that translates to about 75 miles per hour as a minimum speed. So those correlate pretty well. The other thing that correlates pretty well, and I have a slide coming up to talk about what it is, actually is something called storm surge. So those three things are associated with the intensity of a storm according to the Saffir-Simpson scale. So one of the things about categorizing a hurricane is that actually, unlike tornadoes, hurricanes are categorized while they are alive. It's not a post-mortem thing. It's while the system is active. So again, I'm going to kind of show you how they do this, but I compare this to tornadoes, and tornadoes you give them, they aren't the Category 1 through 5, but they're using the what we call the Enhanced Fujita scale, or the EF scale. And you can only categorize a tornado after the fact because they don't last very long. Let's see what else we got. Now this might surprise you. Since between the years of 1900 and 2005, there have only been 3 of those most intense Category 5 hurricanes. And there have been 16 Category 4, and all the other hurricanes have been 1 through 3. I think that's kind of interesting. So with regard to movement, and I think I might have mentioned this before when I started talking about hurricanes earlier, but we have this semi-permanent high pressure that's, of course, between it's between the Hadley and the Ferrell cell, that descending air there, and that actually then creates this clockwise movement that kind of directs our hurricanes, and we call that actually recurving, where they kind of come towards the ocean, come towards the coast and then go back out. Now this actually is showing you as it is a storm, the dotted lines, and then as a hurricane with the solid lines. So these are 4 different storms, and I think it's kind of interesting the paths they take. Hurricane Francis, looks like it was, these are all in 2004, but Hurricane Francis, notice I'll use that as an example that here it is a solid kind of dark blue line, and here actually after it goes over Florida, it turns into the dotted line, and it's a dotted line all the way up to, how it kind of peters out is to even being a tropical storm. So the dotted lines are the tropical storms. It's not so surprising that as it goes over land, it downgrades. It loses its moisture and energy. Another kind of inset here is isn't this crazy how Florida, these are 3 different hurricanes, but how they kind of crisscross Florida. I think that's cool. So here we have then just generally historic hurricanes, and you definitely can see the recurving around that central high pressure. Yeah, some good stuff here. Interesting stuff, I guess I should say. I'll kind of focus on this magenta line here. Hurricane Katrina in '05, and I kind of remember this. How it was like, well, it's gonna, what color should I go with? Green, maybe. It's gonna kind of snake up and over in Florida and kind of went, up and around. So